in basically the entire patch and globally speaking. So not all too surprised to see these champions taken away.
And we're going to see the Ambessa just quickly snagged up here for Bin, one of his better champions, but we have been seeing, I think, a different side of Bin throughout this playoffs. Most notably, I think that he's been really good on the side lane champions that we talked about. The Gnar, the York, the Scion are all some of the champions that I think he has been super proficient on. So to see him kind of return to his roots in that lane dominant position on this Ambessa will be really interesting, because I think the last time these two teams met, Bin definitely got the better of Xiaoxu in the first 14 minutes, just in a vacuum without much interference being factored in.
Yeah, and actually knowing that this is a flex pick as well gives Bin the opportunity to pivot back to this later and perhaps revisit the matchup. I will note as well, Jarvan ban for JDG into an immediate Vi pickup is just a lot of focus put on enabling JunJia and what he means to this series, Alec.
Ooh, okay, so we're taking away Karma. Already it seems like they're kind of willing or waiting for BLG to go for something like either the Nami Corki early on or start off with a Nico who has gone through this draft already. You're talking about the Ambessa. For me, what I would like to see if we're going to continue to go down this line is for more of this dive potential coming in from Xun. It has been so clear watching BLG in these playoffs and even in the regular season that right now what they're working with is just highly explosive compositions that can be extremely volatile when it comes to trying to make picks. There's that Nico that we were talking about. Straight, a really good lane, also taking away the pairing with Karma, now with the Ezreal here for Viper. I just think Gala has a lot of options in what he could go for an AD carry, and I think even though they have the Vi, JDG aren't necessarily locked into trying to make a dive happen.
And I think the Ezreal is not only a really good denial because of the pairing that it would provide with Karma. We have been talking a lot about how JDG synergies have been something that the 2v2s particularly have been super big, at least on the talking points, and how this is actually kind of breaking away from the mold that we were discussing before we went live, where JDG typically pick their bot lane in tandem with one another. So this Karma being picked completely solo could open up opportunities for BLG to just further take away some of those really good Karma pairings, while also allowing for this poke lane in the Ezreal and Nico to get that priority and maybe stack an aggressive jungler over to Xun that can make use of that.
This is an interesting lack of identity, I'd say, by JDG. You mentioned it before, Alec, but with the Jax pick, they have sort of delayed actually figuring out what's going on with their main carries. They don't know what we don't know what HongQ's playing. I assume they have an idea. Same thing for Gala, and those are going to be the most important picks, especially considering that we have so much threat onto them with Nico and Ambessa already.
I'm more so just really surprised we haven't seen Ryze take it already. Like, Ryze is... If we're going to ban away Ori, Ryze is basically like next up in line for best mid laner on the patch. And so to not see him here is quite surprising. With a Jax, to me, that would signal that they would want to go for something like that. But we now have Ryze, Galio banned away from JDG. To me, that almost screams like we're looking for either a Talia early on or even setting up for a Twisted Fate, which I think would work really, really well when you have this Jax on a side lane. Now, continuing to go on, as we get further into these drafts, with obviously BLG already having their bot lane chosen, I'm really looking for what they're going to be pairing up for Bilibili with Knight and Xun. They have been excellent on these really high explosive duos, thinking of the 3 games on a win streak of LeBlanc plus random massive skirmisher in the jungle. Yeah. And so, Xin Zhao still available. I think there's a lot of tools still up here for Bilibili to look for.
And a lot of these
noticing really that things like Nocturne also still up as well. That was something that we actually saw JDG prioritize pretty heavily last time these teams faced up against each other. JunJia, Wukong as well. Quacks.
And it's interesting, too, because we talk about the response on the side lanes here from JDG, and a lot of the options are frankly, I think, completely taken away now by not having that Talia available or that Galio available. Talia, Galio, and Ryze, frankly. These are all champions that are great at being able to respond with their ultimates to a side lane play. You don't have any of that. You picked your jungler, which means that BLG, are just going to snag up this Pantheon. Not only do I think that this is a really good matchup for Xun and can be paired up with a lot of those big mid laners concerns like you mentioned, Alk, but it also just further reinforces that BLG are going to have total map dominance in the mid game, where JDG have historically had the opportunities to come back from any of the early game deficits we've seen them have.
How do you feel about that, Aurora? Your face does a lot.
Look, Knight has been really, really clean on this champion, not just in playoffs, but across his career. And I just think having an Aurora Pantheon as a 2v2, there are very few matchups that I'm going to be looking for from JDG that will help them win the skirmishing power there. So what I'm expecting is everything we've seen from BLG, even if you go back to 2024, get bot priority, invade early onto the bot side so you can get vision on not only enemy jungle, but maybe even get some ideas of where respawn camps are, and then just play around with how flexible the solo lanes of BLG can be, and now have them even be supported by a Grand Starfall on this Pantheon. I mean, JDG, Quacks, I don't know about you, but I feel like this team is a little bit more reactive. The 2v2 is great, but Ari has sustained a lot of nerfs, and you have Jax, Yunara really as your kind of big carries as we go later on.
I also think that you just don't get nearly as much value as you were hoping for here from this Vi, because your main targets are going to be on to the bot side of this BLG comp, and it makes it very difficult for JDG to actually react to any of those ceases and desists. I mean, you got Ezreal being able to arcane shift, you got Aurora being able to kind of dash away and do her own thing. Nico is probably not the target if, you know, we're talking about all three. Probably last on the totem pole that you want to be ulting as the Vi, because the Nico could just ult and potentially buffer your own knockup with that animation cancel. So it feels really tough, I think, for the JDG jungler to actually find value in the mid to late game. And it's going to be hard for him to have a good early game because of, like you said, that pressure and that push that BLG will be having.
Why was Mukau Alistar on this
screen? What is going on? Yeah.
I got completely flashbang. I'm sure, Quacks, you had a lot of great insight there. I'm just seeing Mukau Alistar emote. Really? I can hear the cowbell in my ears, even without having to see the game.
Sleep paralysis demon.
And you know what? Even with that cowbell still ringing in our ears, there's no time to delay. It's time for game 1 of the Grand Finals. You guys could hear the cowbell, right?
Yes, oh, yeah. I heard it. I'm glad that it's real. We're still going to have an Alistar later in the series, but I'm just hoping with this early start that we get a good best of 5 here between our two teams. Junglers are starting on opposite sides, and we do have some early vision already being gained here by BLG, so hopefully that they'll be able to spot out JunJia early on his Raptor camp as he shows.
I already see some summoners being burned bot lane. I don't expect that it is probably going to be a pivot here for Xun. We have seen some Pantheons after they hit level 3 opt to not go for the full clear and instead just kind of go toward the enemy's bot side, maybe look for a play there. I think the opportunity is open if Xun wants to take it, but could be maybe a little bit more risky, as maybe that is what does it. Huge chunk here for BLG's bot lane.
You have
it looks like the people are on board with the BLG win con as well. They've seen the lane dominance bot lane, the lane dominance top lane. They've seen enough, Alec.
Yeah, this is exactly what we had in 2024 when BLG was the best team in the league. Playing the 2v2, it might have been Elkanon, we got Viper on, it's basically the same thing. Now Vampire can try to help, but On's already here, and they're having Ezreal move over. Gala's still level 1 on this wave. This is now multiple camps that JunJia is not going to have access to, as well as a plate and all of that golden experience that was denied to Gala.
And it's exactly what you had talked about. Alec, he had mentioned that in the pregame, this was the plan for BLG, to get early lane prio, to transition that into a Pantheon invade, and now a flash from HongQ does force flash out of Knight. Xun's in the mid lane as well. Flash from him to maybe take out this Ahri early on. One more auto will do it, and first blood goes to Xun.
Yeah, good stuff there from Xun, cutting the map and immediately, you know, abandoning the crab like a good jungler, like a jungler who actually cares about his lanes, and manages to secure that first blood. So not only is it the flash burn from HongQ, which significantly reduces the threat of this Ahri being able to roam around the map, but also because of that pivot on the first clear that we saw from Shun, he delays this level 6 timer for JunJia even more and really starts putting this vibe behind. So already the proactivity of this team, the early game dominance that we mentioned, starting to come through.
All right. So he's going to get at least one camp back to himself. He'll take the respawn Raptors here from Shun. Shun already doing a lot of work on this Pantheon, which was a pretty contested pick from these two junglers so far in the playoffs. Makes an impact on bottom lane, makes an impact on mid. I think that's exactly what we wanted to see in terms of setting up BLG for the early game. JDG so far, I think through these playoffs, have shown to be the best team fighting team, especially in the mid to late game. So it's not all too unfamiliar for us to see them with a gold deficit going early into the game. It'll just be whether or not we see them either early prioritizing dragons and how they're really going to have to problem solve from this deficit right now.
And Jbetto had mentioned even after yesterday's series, thinking about JDG's advancing to the grand finals, how good this team has been at setting up for objectives. He called them second to none. And even the last series between JDG and BLG, that's reflected. JDG getting far more dragons overall, something that we could see become very relevant in about a minute. BLG have bot priority, and Quacks, it's feeling a bit awkward.
HongQ wouldn't even be able to roam here if he had priority because of just how significantly nerfed this Ahri is at the current moment. No ult, no flash means that you're completely immobile and at the mercy of maybe just an empowered E coming out from Shun and getting that stun onto you. And the damage from BLG, plentiful to finish you off. So, yeah, I like what we're seeing here. Just further invades from Shun. Gamer.
He just smited the big wolf.
That too.
Quacks, you're our jungle main, but I'm gonna just say you have all the timers on the bot side jungle as blue side, and now you just took away Wolf. Bin?
It's the old, he had to flash away. He's still alive, still alive. My bad, my bad.
Yeah, but Quacks, get in there, brother. Like, you're getting contested on all your bot side camps. They know when all of your camps respawn. Is there, what are you looking at for JunJia? How are we thinking he's gonna try to get back from this position?
I think that he has to just kind of tough it out, honestly. We're talking about this JD comp as a composition that doesn't really want to be super proactive in the early game. Those level 6 spikes are obviously kind of a break point that they can look to abuse. But then past that point, like the 2 to 3 items on the Yunara, the 2 to 3 items on the Jax, that really is when these powerful picks start to come online. So just kind of got to tank it, if I'm being honest with you. Honor your jungler for tilt proof.
Okay.
JunJia getting
so
first dragon. Just despite the bot lane priority that we saw earlier, Shun is using that to just continue clearing the jungle, move himself ever closer to level 6 for Pantheon.
I think so far what we have seen from BLG in this playoffs, and maybe to JDG's credit as to why we've seen them be so good around objectives, is that BLG have been super abusive of all the influx of gold so far in this season. All of the turret plates, the addition of bringing back First Blood back into the game, all of these have kind of helped BLG mask some of their objective setups and the issues we've had with their macro for years by just letting them have massive gold leads that let them fight whenever they want, as we see here with their champions.
As soon as the Grand Starfall comes online, it's used to bail out Bin, but fortunately enough for JDG, they have enough people in the area that this doesn't turn straight up into a kill. Xiaoxu's got a great disengage, and now they could even turn this around. Xiaoxu and JunJia both heading up into the top side, and Shun's nowhere near.
Oh, we're out. Cool.
Yep.
Good.
Nothing really to be had there. I will say that I'm really starting to pay attention to these level 6 timers on the supports. We do see 30 seconds until those grubs spawn. And we did mention several times in the draft BLG and their love for side lanes. I would say, looking at the comps, other than Viper, the siege on BLG isn't something to super gawk at, but having those grubs could help them further some of these gold leads that have been growing here in the top side for BLG.
Okay, some skirmishing. Seems like for right now, JDG want to assert pressure on this bot lane. Mostly what I assume is to get Gala a recall and then have Vampire shift up. Already, JunJia is sitting in the river. He's taking control of this as the Scuttle is going to be spawning soon. We won't have to worry about those level 6 marks for now, but I mean, BLG, they need to make a decision now. Are we even contesting for these grubs, or are we going to go for more of the respawn camps as we've been talking about so far in this series? You have all of the entire quadrant here for JDG on the bot side ready. It seems like instead Xun is going to forego that with his half-level lead and continue to just run over, maybe even leverage Knight's priority here.
It has been very lane-focused so far from Xun, not nearly so much on the objectives, and with the trade of sides, you could ever see that pivot. Knight and Xun going to back right off into the river, likely securing Scuttle, and perhaps a little bit more as Xun does refocus on Void Grubs. This appears to be uncontested by JDG on the opposite side of the map.
This is going to be, I think, really big for just the top side in general. BLG have been having prio mostly toward themselves across this, so now it's just going to make it that much more consequential. But also, I mean, when you've got champions like the Pantheon being able to throw down that Grand Starfall, if you can get a kill, it just means that the reward you get for actually getting a kill off of a successful gank here for Xun is that much greater, being able to get gold in the form of just more plays.
It's kind of insane, actually. Like, you have a team with crazy solo laners, with an aggressive jungler who can gank anywhere, and the ability to do more damage to the structures every time it works.
It turns out that's pretty OP. And we have two champions, or at least we have one champion that's going to be building a Sheen item, so that'll help him with taking down these turrets. So far, I mean, we've kind of seen a bit of a more lax early game here for JDG, but it's only 1,000 gold lead here for BLG, and JunJia Gaming were able to grab the dragon, which I think is a really big boon for them.
Yeah. And on top of that, we can also see, I feel like JunJia really hasn't been able to impact the map quite yet here on the Vi, and like we talked about in the draft, it's really only going to get more difficult. Looking at all of the bot laners here, or the bot side rather, for BLG, they all have means to just take Vi deeper and deeper into the weeds with that cease and desist and make it more difficult for the rest of JDG to actually follow up. So we could see that in this team fight. Whoa!
That goes over the wall between worlds pumped, and he's out. And he's out. Aurora Magic, we're all good. But perhaps not the wisest positioning from Knight.
Hey, he got out. That's all that matters. We didn't give over a kill to either the Ahri or the Vi. Kind of noticing, piggybacking off of what you were talking about there for JunJia, it is a surprise, I think, considering the start to the playoffs. I thought he was a Game 5 merchant. He played all 4 of the games going into both of his first and second series for JDG, kind of being invisible for the team. But after the upper finals, during this matchup actually versus Xun, it felt like JunJia finally really stepped up for the team, was outsmiting Xun in basically all 5 games. And the lower bracket didn't seem that much different. JunJia has really had a big revitalization towards the back end of the playoffs.
And just looking at the recall timer here, JunJia is going to take right as the dragon is spawning. Kind of signals that JDG don't really have an interest in being able to actually try and contest this second dragon. Not a huge deal. It would only be the first that you're giving over to BLG. But one trend that I did really start to notice in the first series that they played in the playoffs, the games are really dictated by who gets this bot side objective. This controls the trajectory of the game. So I feel like just the more important aspect of this match is this.
Gala separated from the team, but now just rejoining them. Xun goes low, but flashes away, and it will just be On that falls. HongQ following up on Xun, but it's going to get stunned in response. Maybe taken down. Flash forward from Vampire does secure the kill for HongQ, but Viper's looking for a little bit more. Looking to answer back for BLG, and he will find Vampire. Knights arrived as well, making this dragon that we talked about as being also important, that much more difficult to actually focus on for JDG.
JDG will not be able to contest for this dragon now. They had a window where, because Knight was second to the recall to come back in the lane, that was their timer to look for something. They kill Xun. They take away some summoner spells. Yes, I love the fact that we're getting big burst combos between JunJia and HongQ. It has been a duo that we've been looked at all season long and have not been able to get much of. But now they lose access to this dragon if BLG want it.
A big reason of that is because of the Pantheon. Even though you kill him, having the ability to, you know, Grand Starfall your way right into the fight, as Knight as well is getting that ultimate back up. So the mid-jungle of BLG have really good conditions to fight. Means that JDG wisely back off, and going back to live, it looks like BLG, we're kind of in the exact same spot that we were before the fight even started, guys, where BLG have control of the river and aren't pulling the trigger. They're looking for some kind of kill, or rather Xun is just looking to assert his dominance as the better jungler by trying to steal away more camps.
It turns out you can't miss smite fights if you never start the objective with the enemy jungle there.
Big if.
There we go.
Objective tentatively tickled. JunJia wants this flash forward with the charm from HongQ, but he's immediately taken low. So is On, who goes down. Gala being focused by Shun, but there are too many members of JDG in the river, and Viper, nowhere near it, is going to have to back away. HongQ's all over him once again with the Spirit Rush, and will take him out, giving Gala a double kill in this fight, and JDG, the Dragon.
Setup be damned. I mean, JunJia was so tanky in that fight. He was in the middle of BLG, and they just couldn't burst him down. The rest of the JDG members are free hitting in that fight. BLG are all grouped up, and they all get knocked down. Second Dragon over to JDG, and the trend of these Drakes dictating the way these games go could start to, you know, get rolling here the second series around, boys.
And look at the gold lead right now. Already back to 1,500 gold. HongQ on this R. I mean, we look back at this play. One of the ways we've seen Neeko get abused in a lot of these playoffs matches is just she is not a tank. Great charm from HongQ. Flashes in. All of the damage. The Orbit Deception hitting all three of the BLG members in the river here. So this was supposed to be a big power spike for them. Yes, you didn't have the Neeko ultimate, but there was missing flashes on some of the carries here from JDG. You had a Trinity Force already completed here for Viper, and now you've lost out on this big timer and a big window for JDG or for BLG. So 2 Dragons, a 1,500 gold lead, and we didn't see BLG do very much. They've been not really playing to the side lanes. They've just been grouping in front of an objective to try to make a pick happen.
And despite the nerfs that we talked about to Vi Ahri, this is where I think we can really see how potent this combination is, especially for JDG, who do rely a lot on the HongQ JunJia combination, specifically JunJia, to be calling for when to take engagement. This easily another is On is positioned illegally.
So is so is Shun. I mean, he's got nowhere to run, no ultimate, no flash, no nothing.
Cease and desist comes down, and honestly, the Pantheon will go down as well. HongQ collects another kill, but it very quickly has become a terrifyingly large snowball for JDG in this mid-game.
And now JDG gonna reap the reward of having that Herald. This will allow them to, you know, maybe use some tools against BLG in that side lane and be able to threaten them if BLG choose to overload a side at any point, which is a pretty common strategy now that we're kind of coasting toward that mid game. I think that BLG, one of the big things that they've done is have been or Knight push on a lane, and then with the space bought from that, you'll have things like Shun or On try to gain space and look for a pick while one of the JDG members goes to rotate. But here, when you've got this Herald, you don't need to necessarily be as reactive, and you can also look for a cross-map play with that Herald, because if BLG look to overload a side and index all of their numbers to one area, if you're smart enough, you can just go to the other area and use the Herald to get more gold.
I am just perplexed. I am in a really weird space right now. Just watching BLG essentially spend all of their time posturing, trying to aura farm for no reason. Like, we get it, bro. The fit's fire. Can we do some other stuff? Can we get an objective? Can we look for Dragon? I mean, Gala right now is 1,500 gold up on this Yunara, and it's not like you're going to get much stronger. There's going to be a Muramana completed soon for Viper, and that's kind of where I'm looking at this 2-item spike for BLG. That's where I think this composition is going to come alive.
Absolutely.
You gotta hope that this turns into proactivity for them as well, because like you talked about, the aura farming nature of their approach to objectives, not gonna get much done when it's JDG looking for picks more actively with Vi Ahri. But BLG, they've got a Pantheon, they've got an Ambessa, they've got Neeko. It's not like they can't do anything.
And I like that restraint there actually coming out from JunJia. Even though Bin was in a position where he could maybe be attacked, or you could chunk at that health bar a little bit more, they didn't have any vision of the BLG members. I love what they're doing, which is having a gold lead and refusing to give BLG any opportunities to really claim it back. A better safe than sorry mentality that is serving them really, really well in this game so far, as now we're kind of around a minute until that Dragon. Both of these teams have postured heavily toward this top side. I imagine mid-wave control is going to be really important in the next couple of seconds as we try to veer that toward the bot side for this Drake.
if I'm JDG, this is literally like max comfort from where we're sitting. I'm going to have a 2-item Vi as soon as we hit this recall. We're talking about mid waves, 40 seconds before this dragon. We also still have Herald, and it's a 2-item Yunara. We have Kraken Slayer and PD. I don't think you win very many fights as BLG from this position, so I'm going to need to see incredible team fighting or some kind of pick happening right now, essentially. Maybe that goes over to Bin. He's the only one with a lead from BLG, and probably is going to have to be the big difference maker if we're going to see them have a real fighting chance at this third dragon.
Here's the overloading sides that we talked about.
Xiaoxu underneath the tower, not going to save him. He goes down. Maybe a bit of this comfort from JDG wrenched away just now. Still the majority of vision in this side belonging to them, and Gala feels comfortable taking the fight with what he thought was Viper, but turns out to be on. Pot Blossom takes him down. Shun claims the kill, and now is a BLG favored fight as they get another teleport, matching HongQ's in from Knight. Over the wall with the cease and desist. Bin gets aggressive, still hovering on low HP as Shun takes to the front lines with Knight. Viper claiming a kill, a double going to Knight, and BLG manufacture fights just in time for the dragon.
Everyone, please say thank you on. An incredible bait onto Gala, tries to dash forward and just gives over the gold lead and the dragon. Exactly what I wanted to see. A pick onto one side. Quacks was already talking about making these overload side plays, and once they pick out Xiaoxu, this almost feels like an over-index from JDG. They're saying, okay, maybe we can look for something more. Ezreal's not on vision. They don't know that this is the fake Ezreal here, so I can see why Gala went for it, but it turns into a massive punishment for BLG.
Yeah, they all pile on here. You can see that JunJia, we highlighted the tankiness of this Vi toward that earlier dragon fight, but it just doesn't do him any favors. Both of your big damage dealers, it feels like, have been taken down, and you really have nothing left in the tank here for JDG, not to mention the Between Worlds from Knight, that big AoE dealing all of the damage that is necessary. So Dragon Soul Point denied for JDG, and like you said, that gold lead rightfully reclaimed in their eyes back for BLG. Almost to 1,000. That pendulum swung in the snap of a finger.
I was watching Bin during that fight, and then again during the replay as well. Ambessa, despite not having a fantastic laning phase, really working out for Bin in these team fights as he's able to skirt the edges of danger, put a lot of threat out onto JDG, and stay alive, crucially, himself. Now, like you mentioned, with the gold lead back in the favor of BLG, perhaps that gets a little bit more problematic. We'll see how they handle it, but I'm scared. I'm scared of what Bin brings to the table here.
And you can see how not having any tier 1s is kind of affecting JunJia's ability to actually look for these picks now on the Vi. You can see he kind of cut a line on vision for Shun and Bin that said he is going to be maybe trying to advance toward the mid lane, look for a cease and desist if an opportunity opens up. But because these towers are all still standing, it's very difficult for you to look for these picks. It's very difficult for you to look for some of these plays that could maybe claw the gold lead back into a little bit more of a neutral position. And now, I think the big task is going to have to be JDG going onto the side lanes, looking for some of these low HP tier 1 towers and opening up the map in order to unlock things like the Vi's freedom to look for picks and the Ahri's ability to follow up on those.
But they don't have the pick potential, right? We talked about that. For JDG,
yeah,
they are a little bit shorter range. The way that they start fights is either JunJia sending an engage with the Vi or a stray HongQ charm from this Ahri. So it's a very, very, I think, high skill capped or high skill floor kind of composition we're seeing from JDG here. And so with very little point and click or guaranteed pieces of crowd control, you can see it's a lot more difficult for them to make picks on side lanes, for them to really squeeze. Maybe Bin will give them the gold and the respite that they're looking for.
Hang on.
3 members of JDG all piled in here for this pick. JunJia starts it off, but doesn't connect with the Vault Breaker. Charm's going to land. Bin half HP, and Bin taken down. So a nice pick coordinated by JDG on the other side of the map. I'm not seeing the response from BLG. They've gotten a little bit of camp, but it's a free play for JDG.
Yeah, BLG don't really feel comfortable having the damage necessary to maybe threaten the Baron, and also Xun not being in the area means he can't respond with a Grand Starfall, so it's just a pick for free, and that's exactly what JDG want. That's exactly what we talked about, looking for these little picks, looking for these overextensions from the BLG members, and trying to put that gold lead back into a bit of a neutral position. We're going to have to see if that pays dividends, though, as we're about a minute and a half away from the next Dragon coming up. Again, the threat of Soul Point is still on BLG's mind. If they can deny this and put this into a neutral position on the Drake counters, they'll be in a really good spot to start scaling up champions like Viper and Bin, who are continuing to get these items.
I think they're super strong, though. You have 2 items. During that play, that was a flash onto Vampire. He no longer has that. That was on looking for. They're going to pick off Xiaoxu again, and this is perfect for the Dragon Timer.
See how much actually gets answered here as, well, Xiaoxu does go down. JDG really don't have much to do bot side except secure a bit of vision. Like you mentioned, not having your top laner in the setup for Drake really going to impact JDG, especially as BLG start to make their own return into River, scouting out what's available, what's not, and hopefully setting up a little bit of better sight lines here.
And because of that pick, I mean, now you're seeing JDG play a bit more reactively. This is something that we kind of expected coming from the draft. It's something that you, Ulk, mentioned that JDG's comp was kind of have to do. The lack of proactivity really available for this composition is starting to show here, because now we put HongQ on the top side to fix that wave. We're battling for mid lane priority, and it's not enough. They're not actually going to be looking for the dragon. Instead, they're going to be looking on a side lane to look for a pick, but Knight spots that out, so nothing available.
They're not. I hope they can get at least these plates, because right now BLG are nowhere near a Dragon Soul, right? Like we functionally speaking, we're not super close to getting to a soul at this point. So what are we gonna do? Let's get gold on side lane. Let's try to match some of this gold. HongQ getting an entire turret and 2 plates is really nice, but the longer lanes are not helping JDG. It's really tough for them to go to sides and pick up these plates that are still sitting on some of these turrets. I mean, you still have, what is it, 1 plate in mid and 3 on bottom side? No one has been able to touch this bot turret in the last 10 minutes, mostly because of Bin playing on the side lane and just constantly being up. This is the apex, I think, of BLG's comp. You're sitting on 2 items across the board, and this is a super strong, like, Ezreal's going to have another one with his 3rd item, which looks to be Spear of Shojin, so that'll be another big boost of power alongside the GA that'll be completed for Xun. But after that, then we need to start looking at JDG and how they're going to be looking to bounce back in this game.
I want to highlight the play that we saw from Knight as well. You mentioned it, Quacks, but spotted JunJia with the Scryer's Bloom, enabled the full dragon take from BLG, and I know that I shouldn't be saying this, but, you know, played not greedily either, you know? A lot of times we'll see somebody go, well, my team got the dragon already, let's walk up. Knight's not giving away anything for free. He's playing safe, he's calming to the rest of his team what needs to be done, and coordinating likely with them around this next objective. I mean, we know that Baron is up, 3 minutes left until the dragon, and in the meantime, Knight gets to sit in the side lane and not be nearly as worried as he was just a minute ago. Collect a little bit more gold on the Aurora, another champion who's going to be hitting some pretty nice item timings in the next few minutes, hitting 3rd item soon, and just being even more of a nuisance to a JDG that already struggles to lock people down.
And you know, I think a lot of people might be saying that, ooh, hang on. All right, we're not going to look for it. We thought maybe it was a possibility. JunJia not going to pull the trigger with that ultimate. Probably the wiser decision, given that Knight has flash and a ton of tools to just take you deeper and deeper into BLG territory. But Bin, I think, has been another player who, in this game, a lot of people see him pushing up in the sidelines. A lot of people also look back to that pick that we saw JDG make onto him just a few minutes ago and might assume that he's playing really greedily. But Xun, with this Grand Starfall, is there to respond. Knight has teleport. And one of the biggest differences between a early game Ambessa and a late game Ambessa is how damn durable they are. And if Bin is able to survive the damage and allow for the rest of his top side to join up, BLG can absolutely turn that fight with the gold lead that they have now allocated on that part of the map and on those members of BLG.
Them brothers is not killing Bin. Look at his items.
Yeah.
Like, who is killing the 3 item Ambessa with Merc Treads and Death Stance? GG.
Big gold lead going the way of Bin as well. In the side lane, runs that and is getting backup from the rest of the team. We haven't even talked about Grand Starfall in the last little while, but it's another source of pressure that we aren't really seeing because it's not turning into huge ganks from Xun. It is something that JDG are constantly having to respect, however. Just playing a little aggressively right now.
Oh, we're going.
Position. Grand Starfall, as we talk about it, however, as Xun does commit into HongQ, but gets tagged by the Charm, not allowing him to actually finish what he started. JDG back away into their jungle, avoiding that pretty darn well.
I don't know how you're supposed to play from this position as JDG. Like, there's so much mobility, and Xun is looking really aggressively. Even that mid lane play, if they can get Ezreal underneath that turret, take the turret alongside it, I think that's a massive bounce of gold there for JDG. But not only with the not getting the shutdown, but with Xun showing in on the mid wave, they completely call off the dive. So now you're gonna be missing some summoner spells. No flash for Xun going into this dragon.
Teleport.
This is a full pick as well with the teleport behind, like you mentioned.
Wow.
Bin has already almost solo killed JunJia. Knight's here to finish the job. JunJia flashes away, but it will not save him. Knight secures the kill, and it's numbers favored for BLG as Bin goes super deep and falls. Pop Blossom hits nothing, but BLG, they just keep going. Xiaoxu gonna escape, but it's a double kill for Knight as he flashes over the wall. HongQ gonna have to burn the Spirit Rush to get out of here, and JDG, they come up hands empty.
BLG are bloodthirsty in this fight, flashing forward, looking for more blood, looking for more kills. They're only going to be able to find 2, but those are plenty for them to gain control of this bot side river. They're going to reset with a little bit more gold in their pockets, redeploy onto the map with some shiny new items. Yeah, going back to a replay here, this is just BLG looking to punish JunJia for extending what they feel was a bit too far.
We said he was unkillable. This guy's level 18. Nobody from JDG is matching him. He's 2 levels up over the next highest players, which is HongQ and Xiaoxu. And look, he only tags 1 member, but it's the most important one in this fight. It is Gala, instantly dead, no recompense. And now we're going to another dragon, which JDG want to fight.
Their old timings, especially Pop Blossom not being there, doesn't seem to actually keep them from this objective, as unfortunately JDG didn't quite have theirs either. You know what else JDG don't have? They don't have a whole lot of control in this jungle. You saw it right there, but Xun's just not even able to walk through his own side of the jungle to get back to lane. He has to go disengage, walk all the way around BLG. We're already hitting mid lane tier 2.
BLG looking to tighten their grip around this game now that the threat of soul is there. Bin, Grand Starfall.
Whoa!
Also coming in. We're just throwing out our ultimates for as BLG. It's target practice here.
Quacks, would you say using Grand Starfall to get the Evolve Scuttle is a worth trade? I think Evolve Scuttle is very OP, but I don't know if it's worth that.
I mean, there's not a dragon for 4 minutes.
All right, I'll take my 100 gold then. Good, nice business trade.
Yep. Truly a fantastic
whoa.
One that apparently JDG feel comfortable punishing as they're just onto the Baron.
BLG do call that this is a possibility, but a little bit of damage from HongQ does keep
Viper
honest in his positioning. JDG, they get this Baron, and the punish on, we'll call it the Grand Starfall, works out real well for JDG.
I just don't know, though, like, how much are we actually going to get off this Baron? Because I think it's a really dangerous gambit. The Baron is going to last up until about a minute before this dragon spawns, and you have no waves to play for. Baron's not necessarily a team fighting buff either, so I think you can maybe make an argument that for BLG, the Cloud Soul is not really going to enhance their damage in these fights, but I don't know what a Baron is necessarily going to do for JDG, with especially how long these lanes are. I mean, look at where all of the members of JDG are right now. They're essentially at their tier 2 line. They're not pushing out these lanes very far, and even once they do, they're going to have to eventually see the territory, and BLG will then recollapse. So these next 2 minutes are going to basically make or break this game for JDG.
Man, I am so sick of people treating Cloud Soul like the Edward Norton of Souls. This thing is so underrated, it's crazy. Why are we disrespecting my boy Cloud?
I love Cloud, just Sidki, not the dragon.
Yeah. I will say, you know, Alk to your point, this, at the very least, is a denial from BLG, and can we not say that that is worth?
I mean, sure. I mean, taking the first 2 dragons was also a pretty big denial from JDG, but you don't see me raving over the moon for them. Sure, it saved them another 10 minutes in this game. Right now, they are getting turret plates, and that's what I want to see. We're pushing on 2 waves, mid and bottom lane, and I love that HongQ and JunJia are bouncing between these waves in Fog of War. This is an important stretch of time where they're getting gold back for themselves. Wow.
Execution, though. I mean, HongQ and JunJia just sit there watching it. Pop Blossom catches them both, but able to survive just long enough. Maybe JDG are able to turn this fight. Gala's here, and Gala's free firing popped into the GA. We've got another chance at life for Shun, but even that not going to save him as JunJia collects the kill. JDG buy enough time to turn that fight around.
Yeah, JDG, really good response from the collapse there by the rest of BLG. Managed to break open that tier 2 as well. And now, it just feels like it is the work of this Baron being able to claim a lot of that territory between the mid and bot that you mentioned, Alk, and being able to set up around there. BLG look for a desperate play, and it gets thwarted now. With that tier 2 gone in mid, it means that it's just going to be that much more difficult for BLG to get control of that mid wave in time for this dragon coming up in a little over a minute. And the tables have kind of turned. We talked about the importance of JDG needing to have control of this dragon in order to get themselves to soul. But now BLG have essentially gotten all the dragons over the course of the last 10-15 minutes. So they're the ones that are on soul point here. And JDG, how are they going to respond? Bin is on the side lane. They could look to potentially punish, but he does have Guardian Angel. He is still so tanky.
Oh, JunJia's in a massive flank.
Oh boy.
But Bin feels comfortable just taking the fight to Gala on his own. Does find the public execution, but Gala is out of there with a flash. Vampire low and Pop Blossom will go down as now the fight refocuses on Xiaoxu. Shundo never lost his eyes on Gala, flashing on top of him and turned the fight for BLG. Viper now the only AD carry left standing, and he is standing tall, collecting the kill onto HongQ. A double kill for him, a double kill for Viper and Shun. And it turns into a big team fight win for BLG.
And it was JunJia looking for the long con, but Bin takes a shortcut right into the heart of Gala. BLG stab and strike first in the best of 5.
This is a big win for BLG, being able to turn this around from a game that JDG was reclaiming. The series may be close, but in the team fights, it wasn't that close. BLG, they find the win in game 1. It is a great start for them, but Alka, I'd say we're not out of the woods yet. That was a little too close for comfort.
I didn't like some of those mid-game fights, and I gotta say, Xiaoxu was probably the most useful 0 and 3 jacks there for a little bit. That mid play tanks up all the aggro. Yeah.
And if this game is any indication, we might be in it for the long haul, frankly. That was a really fun game number 1 where, you know, JDG initially, or BLG rather, initially are able to get the lead, then JDG reclaim it, then BLG reclaim it, and then it was looking neutral. BLG, though, with that last team fight, just completely dominated and managed to bring home that game number 1. Really good stuff all around, but I do have to give special flowers over to Bin. The side lane presence that he had on that Ambessa and the eye that he had for that last team fight is what allowed them to get it started, looking on to Gala and allowing for the rest of his team to follow up. That's what ended the game, and frankly, it felt like the rest of the match was building up to that point with how strong Bin managed to get on this Ambessa.
It's definitely terrifying. A lot of big difference-making moments in that last game, and to hear a little bit more about it from a different perspective, let's hear from the desk.
Thank you very much, Dia. BLG taking game number 1 of our grand finals, and Kman, it was basically your typical BLG JDG series. I mean, we're going to get the post-game graphics, the replays, and all that, but one team was ahead, then the other team was ahead. Back and forth they went until eventually a crucial team fight in the bottom lane ended up giving BLG that victory.
They were so close, guys. They were so close to figuring it out here in this game. It was a couple of minor mistakes that really come back to bite them, but overall, it's a really, really nice game from BLG. I think they showcase that not only are they still able to generate their own leads with a lot of really nice aggressive early game plays and, you know, keeping their foot on the gas as we continue to go throughout the rest of a game, but they showcase that they can just outplay JDG in some of these big pivotal fights where they're the ones that are stepping forward and being aggressive and not making the mistakes, and JDG unfortunately didn't really have a clean answer to that.
I'm going to say JDG start with their game plan that we've been talking about pretty frequently. This dragon setup, the bot prio that they didn't necessarily have in the early game, but they used some really great macro and decisions through mid lane and some vision pockets to get themselves into dragons. They got the 2. Cloud Soul with JDG's comp is ridiculous. You know, Vi with Ari, with Karma. It's really, really strong. Yunara as well. And then BLG essentially go, okay, I understand now. When you're not allowed another dragon the rest of the game. The setup is perfect from BLG. They do these really nice cross-map picks onto Xiaoxu. That was a really big top gap that game. Bin played exceptionally well. And then every time JDG tried to make a play, BLG were there ready to respond.
We were calling on Xiaoxu for having a pretty good playoffs up until the winners finals, but Bin, this game definitely had the upper hand, both in terms of the laning phase and also just how he was able to snowball
good
that
gold
lead
graph.
once he ended up getting that advantage. This is hopefully a sign of what's to come here on our LPL gold graphs. JDG able to get that lead in the mid game. Then they end up sneaking that Baron, and all of a sudden we're like, wait, are they going to come back and win this game? But you know, Kman, it felt like a bunch of crucial mistakes, particularly from Gala, who was one of the stronger players in terms of gold for JDG in that series, but all three of his deaths came in very crucial team fights at moments that ended up really costing his team.
That's the thing with this game, is that you look at the 2 drafts between these 2 teams, and you're looking at a team comp that is set up to play around this Yunara incredibly well. One of the most popular and common team comps in the entire game right now is Vi and mid lane roamer with Yunara on the bottom side of the map, and we got that here in game number 1. It's just the Yunara wasn't there to be able to step up in team fights, whether it was making positioning mistakes or just being too greedy in the fights that, you know, he felt comfortable taking. It really ended up putting his team into a bad spot, and unfortunately, you know, for JDG, they didn't really have anybody else that they could rely on. This comp is almost entirely dependent on Yunara being in a spot to be able to carry them late game. It just didn't happen in this one.
Yeah, we have a couple of, I mean, we're seeing the replays here, but we want to take a deep dive into some of the specific mistakes that happened around this area of the map, around the bottom side, when Gala did end up getting caught out. And so, Kman, we're gonna roll those right now and just, you know, have you go through it, have him go through it.
Yeah. Jbetto, would you like to kind of talk about what you saw on this first one?
Now,
so we get this clip going.
I'm an ADC player. Do not, your Pantheon's on Vision and Bess is on Vision, do not dash into a Nico. That's step 1. Step 2 is do not dash into a Nico with ult when her entire team is behind her. That's probably a good start. You have 2 dragons, you're up 1.5k gold, don't dash into Nico. Melee range, thank you.
Yeah, definitely not a good way to start off this game, especially in the position that they were in. But really, when we take a look, it wasn't just one. It was 2 really egregious examples, in my opinion. You have the first one, which I think is just objectively worse. But when you look at this setup, this is one where I think you just cannot be making this kind of mistake. While JunJia does get caught here, it actually is okay for JDG, and there's a chance they're able to turn it around. But it's this moment right here. Gala jumps over the wall and puts himself in a position where he is hopeful that Jun either goes in or On is too far behind the play to be able to make this happen. And so when we're in a spot now where Gala is far forward, this is the problem. Do you see anything noteworthy on the screen here that might be of relevance and importance to potentially what is happening on the screen at the current moment? Because I think there might be something really important and relevant that unfortunately just didn't quite come out at the right time here from Gala. He gets Nico ulted, bursted down, and then the fight is over. At this point, the game is entirely in favor of BLG. You know, JDG did a good job to try and pull themselves back, but these are the kinds of mistakes that you can't really be making in a grand finals against the best team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, we're typically used to those killer instincts from Gala, no pun intended, right, of being able to have those really quick mechanics, right, be able to press that flash button at the right time. And on a team where he's one of the more experienced players, you're kind of hoping that he's able to, with a gold lead on the Yunara, a pick that does scale so well into the late game. I think we talked about it, like, maybe at the 30-minute mark. He's the strongest player on the map. Getting caught out in those positions is certainly not ideal. On the flip side, Viper was able to play a very solid game, and on the top side of the map, Bin also doing a ton of work in the side lane on the Mbessa, gets the player of the game, Jbetto. And I mean, across the map, the bot lane certainly was where we had our eyes, but Bin kind of was just dominating on the other side, so we didn't really have to think about it very much.
Yeah, the top lane matchup wasn't great. I was a bit, when we were watching the draft together, I was a bit curious about the Mbessa first pick. I said the line, is it this highly prioritized? Is this pick genuinely this? With the Renekton